Welcome to the Lake Effect podcast. We're shooting today at the Sandbox Centre in downtown Barrie. I'm Mike from Accurate Glass, and this is a podcast in regards to fine home building and cottage building in Simcoe County, Barrie. So today I have with me Jesse Kerr from the Sandbox Centre, the Senior Innovation Manager. Welcome.
Thank you, Mike.
And we'll be asking him some questions about why we shoot down here, what's available here, and what services he provides. So tell us a little bit about what that position does, the Innovation Manager, and how you help businesses and what you do.
Yeah, for sure. So in my role here at Sandbox Centre, for those who aren't entirely familiar with the Sandbox Centre, what we do here is we really help businesses get to where they want to go, the simplest way to put that, right? And we do that really in three ways. So the first way I like to say is when people come and use the space, because outside of here, outside of the walls in the room we're currently sitting in, we have lots of drop-in space. So it's not quite co-working. You can't bring your stuff and leave it here, but you can definitely show up and drop into work. And so with that, you get to network with the other individuals who are doing the same thing. We do have meeting rooms here as well, too. And so the idea originally was that you might be here working, and then someone I haven't seen in a while may be like, Mike, where have you been, right? And so just by virtue of the fact we're both in the same spot, same time.
So social in a business context.
Social in a business context, right? I think that at the core of the other two examples I'll give you here, Mike, really what it is it's exactly that. It's the networking effect, right? It's connectivity to different individuals at different times, but within the realm of business, right? So Sandbox Centre, that's what we do. We help people in business get to where they want to go. But listen, we don't have all of the answers, and we're not the only answer out there. This is about the collective group and sharing, right?
Fair enough. So that's one of the reasons I'm here and I'm doing this podcast is because I dropped in to see somebody who was operating out of here, and they involved in social media, which is Trevor, who did the last episode with us.
Okay.
And we saw the room, we saw the podcast, a professional studio, and said, hey, we want a piece of that. We want to try that out. So it does work. I mean, here I am, right?
That's the second part of it, absolutely. Is so the use of space is really going to feature in these first two examples. But the first use of space rates are just dropping in, coming in, being here. The second one would be using the room. So just like we're doing right now, the podcast studio is one opportunity. We do have a couple other boardrooms and a big event space in the beginning. And then the third and final way in which that you're going to connect a community here is really through the different actual activations. I like to call them activations, but programs, workshops, events. So really at the core of it all, it's just people coming together, and that's what we do here with a business lens.
So if I wanted to be a hypercritical business owner, which watching my expenses and looking for return on investment on, the next breath I take, right? So not that I'm like that, but sometimes you have to be like that in order to stay alive, make a profit, and keep the company moving. Why would somebody engage in the services that you offer, as far as business coaching is concerned?
Yeah, so in the business coaching realm, I would look at it more as peer learning style than business coaching. Now, we do have a lot of coaches available that come in, are part of the membership here in the space, but from the Sandbox lens, and we'll talk about the Regional Innovation Centre piece of it, where more of the direct programmatic pieces come in. We have an accelerator program that I run. It's part of my job here as well. But in the idea of the original Sandbox Centre, it was really about that connectivity to the business community. So as an example, when you first walk up the stairs, we have a lot of our partners and sponsors whose names are on the wall. They have all sorts of knowledge that I don't have, right? When we look at somebody like one of our good partners at the BDO, as an example, I mean, I know that tax exists, I know that accounting exists, but I only know enough to be dangerous about it. So that when we're having a conversation, and if you had something about tax or accounting you wanted to know to, I can refer you to an expert, right? But I also bring them in-house here. So to your question of like, why would I want to engage in that fashion is, A, because we have those people here and they're people. At the Sandbox Centre, we don't lead with the business card. We don't lead with the sale. I'm not trying to sell you something. I get to know you, right? Much like we're doing right now. We get to know each other, where you're at, where it is you want to go. Even if you're hypercritical about something, then that's where kind of the training piece comes into play. So here at the Sandbox Centre, we have recently become this thing called a Regional Innovation Centre. And Regional Innovation Centres, for those who are unfamiliar, are funded by the province of Ontario. And it's really a programmatic funding that they offer for us. And so there are 17 of these regional innovation centers across Ontario. And so the Sandbox now joining that network does a couple of things. And so if I was that business owner and you're asking why would I come to the Sandbox Center? Well, what we do in terms of the Regional Innovation Center is actually to help more specifically guide programmatically through the journey of, where you want to go, right? Where are you now? You come in the door, whether you're someone who's already in market, I'm in an in-market business, and I'm either spinning my wheels, I'm turning the light on, I'm turning the light off every day, I'm not really gaining any traction, or maybe I'm gaining lots of traction and I'm actually having a growing and scaling issue, right? There's no shortage of people who have scaled themselves to death before. Specifically, if I was talking about, in the trades in Muskoka, one of the issues that most will face will be, I had an employee, but they thought they could do it better. So they left and started their own company, but they didn't get any of the insurances. But then the person hired them because they were cheaper. And then, oh no, they did something wrong. And now actually that person has tainted my industry, period, because they did a poor job of it in the first place because they weren't a professional, they weren't an expert, but they led someone to believe they were. So when I walk through the door on the next guy in, they don't believe me, they're looking at me negatively. And also, oh no, I don't have enough employees to manage all of the business that's happening right now. Obviously in Muskoka, there's a lot of seasonal work that happens too. So like, how do I become more sustainable year round? How do I retain my employees? How do I keep my overhead down? How do I get my name out to the customer? Because there's a huge market with lots of resources up there, right?
The story you're describing definitely happens from time to time.
Mm-hmm.
As far as trades are concerned in Muskoka, there's a mix of things going on from my knowledge.
Yeah, tell me more.
For what I see, okay, so there's companies that have grown up in Muskoka, started small, built up, that took advantage of whatever growth when growth was happening. There's people who bring trades. If we're talking about trades specifically, there's people who bring trades from the city. And usually that's, I don't know how you would gather statistics other than just to have experience and talk to people and see the traffic and the travel. And from that lens, I can say statistically in my head, it seems that guys who come up from the city maybe do one job or two jobs and then go home. They don't live there. They're not. They have to go all the way back to the city to for their resources. Or for their home, or to get home at night or whatever. And that presents a disadvantage to anybody who's doing repeat business in Muskoka. So, there are people in Muskoka who look at my company, Accurate Glass, and they're oh, you guys are from Barrie, not Muskoka. Like Barrie's the big smoke or something, right? It's more like, it's the little smoke, really. But it's only an hour and a half down the road. It literally takes as long to get from Barrie to Muskoka as it does to traverse Muskoka, right? But we send trucks there every day. We've got somebody in the area. The reason we base ourselves here, we haven't moved the whole company up to Muskoka, even though that's the core of our work zone, is because of our fabrication plant, and we're making glass in Barrie. It's a long-term, the company's really has roots back to 1969. It's a well-established business, and our fabrication shop is, very effective, and it serves other businesses as well. As far as, the guys who are doing installations, we did buy Muskoka Glass and created a relationship. The best part of that relationship has actually been being introduced to all the very cooperative and realistic people that we've met at Muskoka Builders Association. So we attend their meetings. A lot of their meetings are driven to give advice or present information for business owners, which is kind of nice because you're surrounded by, people who are experiencing the same struggles that you are as a business owner, right? So I imagine that the Sandbox Centre is kind of the same. I know I have met Craig before,
Yep.
who established the Sandbox Centre, I think 2016, somewhere around there, something like that.
Rumor has it that it was on a napkin sometime in 2014, and then maybe they actually incorporated 2016, and I came on board in 2018 with the team.
Excellent. So you've been here quite a while.
Yes, I am the oldest remaining employee on all fronts.
Fair enough. I mean, to me, 2018, maybe it's because of my age, it doesn't feel like that long ago, but a lot has happened since 2018. In fact, it was I think anybody who did anything between 2002 and 2007 made money. All you had to do is not be stupid and you would make money. And then there was a little bit of a break. And then somewhere around 2010, 2011, if you existed between 2011 and 2019 in a trade business, in a construction business, you had any kind of sense of the fact that you just need to bring in a little bit more than you let out, then you did okay. And you had growth. And it's funny when you go beyond that and you look at 2020 and beyond and the challenges that were introduced, not just COVID. COVID's one thing. But I think a lot of people see, I can't be the only, business owner or person in my position or even in this region who doesn't see that there's a macroeconomic situation taking place where you've reached this change of the rules. And now all of a sudden, I mean, this is being shot, the date will be there, what are we in the second quarter 2025? There's now rapid change, and a lot of it's forced rapid change. And the assumptions that people make about recessions and recovery are, I think when people are like falsely optimistic, I think they're wrong, in my opinion. But as a business owner who is effectively producing a luxury product, which we are, okay, some of it's falls under the category of necessity, I would say. There are elderly people who need a decent shower. There are, hospitals, airports, public buildings that need glass. We're very proud to produce glass for not one, actually many aluminum boat companies who are using those boats for emergency services, fire departments, that kind of stuff. We are also producing a lot of railings and office partitions, which, of course, are part of our world, right? And may or may not fit into the necessity category. I'm sure if you were on the balcony of a 20th floor building, that you would want to have a railing if you went out on the balcony.
Wouldn't mind that one at all. Actually, I've been trying to push to get one on the top of the rim outside of the sandbox there for a while that knock the wind down, maintain the views.
Totally possible.
I'm sure it is. I've seen it done.
Yes, you can have a windbreak. You can have a windbreak that is very tall. You can have a windbreak that is very tall, and if you want, reduces the sound. You can have a windbreak that is very tall, reduces the sound, and is bullet resistant. And you can have a windbreak that is very tall that reduces the sound, that is bullet resistant, that changes color.
Oh.
Yeah. So yeah.
Where have you been? Yeah, it's to address some of the timeline that you were talking about, and even when I was talking about the trades and some of the problems that I've seen that they've faced. I have lots of friends who are in the trades. I have a couple of friends who have longstanding generational businesses up in Muskoka, particularly the Gravenhurst area as well. And in my realm of supporting businesses, particularly and taking them from where they are now to where they want to go, there are a few realities that are just universal around business, right? And some of those are that at the core of it all, it's the people and the execution component. You'd kind of alluded to the fact that there was some boom times, and if you knew enough about being able to, just to simplify it, like put the nail on the board in the right place, or knew how to cut the glass properly, that there was a market for you, right? There had to be a market. There's people with money. They wanted the product. They're ready to buy. It's very seasonal up there. The businesses are quite seasonal, so sustainability becomes an issue depending on the market that you're in and you're facing. The customer base comes and goes as the biggest proponent for what sustainability looks like for your business model too, unless you can get into, changing the model into a long-term contract kind of piece, right?
The sustainability for us, I mean, right now we're working on the program, which is an extension of what the previous owner had built up to that point, is that we decided, or he decided at one point, to fabricate his own glass rather than rely on suppliers from the Toronto area to fabricate glass. And the fabrication reached a point, it's now at a point where about 95% of our glass that we produce is for other companies. So it only takes about 5% of our production to supply our own installation crews. And we're very proud, to supply basically our direct competitors. We have, call them frenemies if you want to. If you live in a smaller community, the smallest community I lived in for any time period for, anybody's interest is Tobermory, right? Which in the dead of winter is 500 people. And my wife comes from a small town in Alberta called Edson. Okay. So, you can't let little things bother you. You need some glass, fine, we'll make it for you. You're going to take the customer, you're going to make all the profit. That's fine. At least we get to make the glass. And we've always been good with that. The 5% that we produce for ourselves allows us to control that production and make absolutely certain that when we do get hired to do the job, which we don't always get hired to do the job, that we are providing value to that customer. Not all people value. They really just want the bottom price and that's it. They don't value the professionalism. And that's fine. They can be somebody else's customer. We're good with that, right? As long as there's people out there who want somebody who's kind of going to take their shower seriously, take their partition seriously, design the glass properly, listen to their designer, listen to the homeowner, listen to the architect, listen to the general contractor, care about the clock and the watch and get it done on time, not whine and complain if we have to put it on a boat and take it out to an island or something like that. So that's the service that we provide. What that's allowed us to do is it's allowed us to have this awesome fabrication facility, that I'm still answering or, focused on the sustainability aspect of it. That gives us sustainability so that over the winter we have something to do. And then we get it with the same person trained the following season.
So it seems to me, if I was to be unpacking the accurate glass model here, then you have a couple of streams, and I'm sure, you've already thought about these pieces, whereas you're the supplier for almost the industry, or at least your competitors in your area, right?
We serve the trade. We serve the trade.
Serve the trade. And so if I was to unpack your business model, then I might, lean in to take a look at what serves you better. What's a bigger profit center in what you do, serving the trades or actually providing the direct product yourself, right? And then I might ask those questions. Now, it's important to have a presence in market, and it's important to be able to serve maybe perhaps your higher end clientele while also serving the industry itself. And you might just ask yourself those questions. And I think there's a lot of not only, yourselves as a fabricator, but even the service providers themselves in the end. Everybody asks these questions like, where is my market, right? If I am going to build, am I going to build a high-end home? And I'm only building high-end log. Like, what segment do we want to serve and how best represents us in the market in Muskoka? Who's aware of us and how do we do this? Versus, am I just going to try and build, something else? I don't want to do high-end home because it comes with high-end problems and high-end budget issues, and I can't manage the people. And I'm not saying that's you, but I'm talking about businesses, business owners, and the individuals when we talk about how people show up to serve. It's very clear that at Accurate, you guys are more focused on quality, right? You mentioned, people who are serious about professionalism, and it's important to them what it is they get versus the price sensitive piece, or they just want the cheapest thing, just get it in and get it done, right? And so these are just questions, people would ask themselves from a business lens, or that I would in conversation with people here at the Sandbox. I'd start asking a few more questions around where you're seeing your most amount of success, why you believe you're seeing that success, what your customers are saying about that.
So do you do it as a consulting service, like for pay?
Well, at the Sandbox Centre, the answer to that question is no, as a matter of fact. So at the Sandbox Centre, this is part of the peer knowledge, peer sharing. So we do have these groups that we call peer circles, and this is where, I don't know if you've attended any of the peer circles yet, but where people come together over a subject matter. So we have like an operations group. So we come and we talk. Yeah.
What I did attend was it was like a cybersecurity seminar.
Yeah.
And you guys were able to bring in I think it was a Peel Regional police officer.
Right.
If I remember correctly.
I remember that, yeah.
And it was fantastic. It was like these are the hairs on the back of your neck that should be standing up, and if they're not, then you brush them. Right. And he just went through these examples of how people come running to the police, and they come after the fact when there are so many things that somebody could have done from a business standpoint to nail the cybersecurity aspect of it. So one of our guests that we also had on the podcast, if people want to look up the previous podcast, was Joe from Computer Elite, who's a local business here. And that's basically, we did a deep dive into his recommendations for cybersecurity. But the only reason I was able to have a competent conversation with him about it is because of the seminar that you guys put on. Thank you.
You're quite welcome for that one. And I think that what you've touched on there for me is that we have a community of individuals. So I talked earlier about the 3 different ways that you can connect into individuals here at the Sandbox Centre, and then kind of started a little down the road at the Regional Innovation Centre, which is a bit more focused. So the 3 ways I talked about connecting at the Sandbox are really more around that community and that peer sharing, peer knowledge. You mentioned you'd met Craig. Part of the original vision for the Sandbox Centre itself, before it became a Regional Innovation Centre, long before that, was community hub, community knowledge. There's a lot of knowledge in our community in Muskoka, 2 traditional commuter towns where everyone gets in their car and leaves in the morning with all their knowledge and all their skills, and they go down to, Vaughan area, Aurora, Newmarket, maybe Alliston, and then they use their skills there, and then they come back home to Barrie where they lay their head down. But what happens if we could pull those individuals back into a central hub, which would be the Sandbox Centre, where they're sharing with each other to then help build and grow better businesses here at home, not just from the top, but also from the management and the staff as well. And so that's what we like to try and provide through those workshops with our partners. We don't know everything, right? Our partners, they have expertise for a reason. They offer services. We bring it together.
So in the conversation that we've had today and the conversation we had just prior, you seem to have a pretty sharp sort of arrow, how to hit the target as far as, what subject matters or what format to bring up in order to move a business forward or discuss with a business person. Where do you get that expertise?
Yeah, so that I've also come from a background. So most of my prior careers were front-facing. So I was the knocking on the door, front making sales, business development, customer success, all the front-facing touch points. So I've had trial by fire over, I don't know, you just made me do some math here on that one. Trial by fire for over 20 years now. And so just that learning is one piece of it, so the natural component. The second bit is I'm now 6.5 years in here at Sandbox. So within what I like to call the innovation ecosystem, or within the business ecosystem, what I've benefited from, you mentioned that you came and you got to hear, a cyber security component. I've heard that. I've heard the finance, the account. I know enough to be about pretty much everything to be dangerous, and a little bit in a few realms where I can definitely point you in the right direction.
I think people undervalue that, and it's the reason people have, you can't just Google everything.
You chat GPT.
You can't. It's
don't chat GPT everything. It doesn't know everything.
Well, it knows what it knows. If one question, if people are going to Google or chat GPT or Llama or whatever they're using for AI, ask it, how much of human knowledge can you access or you can contain, right? And first of all, the last answer I got was less than 1%. Okay, it was actually, I think, less than 0.5% of all written knowledge. And how much knowledge from people's experience in people's heads can you gather? 0, right? AI cannot tap into your brain. It can only tap into things that you may have published or... there's a yet aspect to it, but I think like human beings tap into other people's knowledge, if there's lots of things that go unrecorded, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. There's also, if any student of history will tell you that people's lives now and people's lives 500 years ago and people's lives 1,000 years ago and people's lives 3,000 years ago were basically the same. A bear shits in the woods, right? Human beings are human. So once you recognize and willing to acknowledge the fact that we're living in a sort of repetitious cycle, and there's really, nothing is new, but it's not new because we're now. It's new because it hasn't been new for 80,000 years. And this is your ride. Just enjoy it, right?
I just finished having this same conversation, actually. just hosted a workshop really around stress testing desirability of your concept in business, right? So do people want accurate glass products? How do you know? The problem is still the problem, right? The problem of glass since the invention of glass, or prior, what was before glass, right? What was before that? When we get to the problem of glass, I have an inherent issue I need to be solved right now, right? That you are purporting to solve through your business offering. You're not the only one who does it, right? There are other people who do it. Now you do have a strong foothold. I'm coming to learn here in our area as the fabricator. But the problem is still the same problem that the problem will be in the future, is that people need whatever the true issue at hand is. So what do I need the glass for? I don't want water to spill over and ruin all of my floor, right? These would be some of the questions I'd start asking. If I have a glass in a shower, what happens if I don't have glass in a shower? The floor gets wet, right? Is that a problem for me? That's a problem. Is there a deeper problem on that problem? What's the next problem behind that? And we start asking those questions till you get to the core of what it is that you're actually solving for.
Yeah, it's a kind of Toyota way. Why, right? You get to 5 why.
5 whys.
Yeah, so you want to be a few layers deep, from your customer's perspective. Yeah, I think it's a great, those kind of exercises are great exercises for business. It's never, the loop is never complete. It's always, the things that we operate on the most basic level, the strategy of business that we adopt is plan, do, check, adjust, plan, do, check, adjust, plan, do, check, adjust, right? The mistake that I've seen a lot of people make is they either skip, it's only 4 things, but they skip one of them, right? Or they work the cycle too fast they make a plan, but they don't do the plan long enough to see if there's anything to check. There's nothing to check because they rifle through it too fast, or they make adjustments too fast, right? We all know our own personalities, and when you're working a cycle like that, when you're coming up to your week cycle, right? Have you given this enough time? Have you planned this adjustment well enough? Or are you just adjusting and adjusting and adjusting, which means you're never actually doing? So
when you woke up today, did you think about that when you started your day, right? Nobody thinks about that. Generally, not nobody, but most people don't consider that. As a business practitioner, as a professional, as an owner, it, but you don't always think about it. And that's why you may abandon cycles. And so a place like the Sandbox Centre, or even the Muskoka Builder Association, as you mentioned, what they're really good for is helping you remember and consider and think about those things. So as you're moving forward again, you don't abandon it. It's like a business plan, right? Do you have a business plan?
Yeah.
When was the last time you looked at it?
In my mind or in reality?
Yeah, either of those two things. Most people...
In my mind daily.
Yes, that's good. Because most people write that plan, and they usually write it because they're going to need to get some money. They need to get something. They need to prove to somebody this exists, and that's why I have it. But do I go back to it regularly?
Yeah, that's a personality thing, I think. And if I'm guilty of anything, it's I wrote a plan, and I'm going to stick to that plan. If it takes me 25 years to make, it's only 3 pages long.
Well, see, now that's fantastic. 3 pages is good. 40, 50, 60 pages, like most programs have you write.
I tried that before.
We use the 1-page canvas in our model.
I used to say that friends of mine who probably shouldn't have been in business, but they wanted to proceed forward with something. I always told them, just give me you want me to review something for you? 1-page plan. If you can't put it on 1 page, you can't put it on 50. Give me what's the general 30,000 foot view of what you're trying to do, right? And I had to use 3 pages. So, but I get it, right? I get the philosophy. Going to thank Jesse Kerr from Sandbox Centre for being with us today on the Lake Effect podcast. And if you need to get in contact with him, what's the best way to get in contact with you?
I live in my inbox, JESSE at Sandbox Centre, that's CENTRE.com.
Perfect. Okay, and if they want to just look up a website?
Sandbox Centre, same spelling, SANDBOX, CENTRE.com, Sandbox Centre.
Don't forget the RE.
RE is important. We're in Canada, friends.
Yes, .com. Okay, I'm Mike from Accurate Glass Products. Thank you for watching the Lake Effect podcast, and we'll see you on the next episode.